Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Away Day Show. Bit delayed this week. We're on a Tuesday this week. Bit busy on Monday, but back at it again. Another week down the Premier League. A lot of controversial things happened this week in the Premier League. A few eye-catching results, to say the least. We'll start this week with something we learned, I guess, from the weekend. I guess kicked off, and I think for me, it's like Ange Postecoglou will look like he's going to work at Tottenham. I think we saw against United. I know it's United who's looking quite unders at the moment, unfit and unprepared. It almost feels like, but I think coming this season, I was happy for him to just be successful, but I didn't think how well it was going to go. You know, the whole attack style of the first week, the 2-2 draw against Brentford. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. I think from this week, we've learned against a big team when they played their style. Second half, they played their style. They looked, way better than United and stood out. And now we're talking about predictions prior to going on air. Maybe I was too low on Tottenham finishing 8th because they look like a top 6 team at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's very early to look into it because, as you said there, United were well off the pace. They were lethargic. They look slow. I don't even have words really to explain it. Casemiro's looked like he's come off the beach yesterday. It looks like as well all the blame to Casemiro, but he's actually defending. He's defending by himself because Mount and Bruno aren't getting back.
Yeah, they're both
don't get me wrong, Casemiro can do that, but it's still a bit dodgy. But yeah, I am impressed with AngeBall looking immense, but. Yeah, I want to see. I want to see.
Exciting. I don't know if I would say immense, but it's what I would say a caveat to the losing 2-0 is I think you guys had I think it was 1.2 XG to 2 favouring United in the sense that look, you lost 2-0, but it wasn't like you created nothing. Bruno 100%
sitter, absolute sitter.
Needs to get that. I mean, look, players do that. Yeah, but 99% of the time, that's a goal there.
It's just because you're on the road as well. You have to get that first goal.
Ben Davies' weird goal or Licious own goal, whatever that was. Same again. These are sort of. Look, I think.
Or even the handball.
Yeah, I think in terms of AngeBall, it's definitely looking exciting, but I also think the result did probably not reflect the opportunities within the game. So, obviously, I think it's a good time to be optimistic as a Spurs fan, especially considering how low we all put them in the table. Yeah. But I still think that come the end of the season. Just with the quality that we think the teams that we had above them have,
that'll come good.
The course of the season will truly reflect, where these teams rank.
I think one thing for me is their midfield. We're looking at the likes of is it Cisse?
Well, Pape Sarr and Bassouma.
Pape Sarr and Bassouma.
Bassouma looks insane.
Those Bassouma two there who were both at the club last year have come in and looked insane.
Bassouma couldn't get a game last year.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. Conte obviously had an agenda against him.
We talk about Caicedo worth 115 million. Bassouma was as good as him the year before.
He did the exact same role.
It's why wasn't he working under Conte? The 5-back system, I don't know how it works, but you know what it is? You're right. It's the freedom of the midfielders. You saw Bassouma at Brentford, the half spins against United, picking the ball up and driving, getting yellow cards on players. You're totally right. The midfield for me is what obviously United's midfield right now is at the bottom, but they stood out so much in that game.
I think they're actually Spurs' biggest problem is the part of the field we didn't think was their problem. They don't look like, apart from maybe Kulusevski, Son and Richarlison look like they're creating
Son's
nothing.
off it, yeah.
I reckon that's their biggest problem.
I think it's more so
you're right.
But I think, to be fair, you have to factor in that the way Ange wants to play, I think he wants Son to get wide. And look, Richarlison is a bit off the pace at the moment, but I think you hit the nail on the head, the freedom the midfielders have. You see Sarr, Pape Sarr, get
in the area.
6-yard box, on a
cutback from the bar line.
That's just never a position you think
under Conte be sitting.
100%. I think, look, in games like that, it'll pay dividends, but it's also going to show that it's going to be. I think this will reflect the ups and downs that Spurs go through throughout the year. Because look, had that not gone in, United clear that. You're probably looking at a counter attack. And you never know what happens there. But I think as you said, I think Ange. As what we learned this weekend, Ange's going to commit to playing the way he wants. Yep. And it's going to be exciting. And as we said, obviously Spurs fans are well on board at the moment, chanting his name.
Yeah, I was sending around to the group chat. That's
so good.
Yeah, as an Australian, if any team to lose to, to
the shirt I'm wearing.
I know. But I was so happy watching it at the end. I was like,
100%.
It's been a great week for, just off topic a little bit. It's been great with Australian football. The Matilda's done well. Obviously couldn't get the third place at the end, but the football in the country's obviously got eyes on it now. You're seeing Ange Postecoglou to do that. I'm hearing that Australians have travelled to London to watch this game be played. Like, it's at an all-time high right now, and it's just peaking in the country current point in time.
It's really good.
Which is awesome to see. Back on the midfield thing, James Maddison, we've watched the first 2 games, you and me especially, with United as well. How impressive is Maddison? I feel like he's carrying the ball so well.
He was just turning left, right. Like, his, one first, second touch is the thing. Like, there was a couple of times he'd grab that first touch and on the half turn, just blitzing Casemiro. Is that a testament to Maddison, or is that... it's a bit of both.
Casemiro's drop off.
It can be both.
I think it's a bit of both, but to be fair, on the Maddison thing, I think the stats will show you that he had a weekend high number of progressive passes. You know, I think he had 3 or 4 balls into the box. Obviously his positioning is really good, and his movement on the ball is really solid as well. But I think mostly it's what he can do with the ball.
Yeah.
And the positions he can get the ball.
The delivery
is insane.
It sort of reminds of Harry Kane, where he just sort of floats. At one time he floated out to the right, picked the ball up on the right, drove to the right, which is... I think this whole Harry Kane thing, we've talked about it, but it's almost working now that he's not there, because there's more space for Maddison to drop into. Kulusevski dropping in central as Maddison moving out right. So it's a great fluid. We'll probably talk about it later on a bit more when we talk about the game, but I think the signs for Spurs with Maddison there, as I said, Kulusevski's played really, really good football. The 2 holding players are looking really good as well. So it's all coming together nicely for Spurs.
Yeah.
We'll jump into the first game.
All right.
Friday night, Forest Sheffield. I tried my best. I watched up most of this game on Friday night. Forest 2, Sheffield 1. For both teams, firstly for Nottingham Forest, a big result, right? Yeah. At home, we've talked about it. I've talked about it heaps. You've got to win the home games,
especially around those teams who could be potentially near them.
Yeah,
you need to pick up those
They
points.
Started the game good. I talk about the second half. They struggled a lot. The back end, obviously, a great ball from Aurier, whipping it in to Wood for that late winner. Absolute libs everywhere at the City ground. But then, as I said, you need that result. We had them pretty high, you and me, in the ladder. And it's because of games like this, I think, it's going to stand out, right? When they're not playing great football, they played good sort of first 30 minutes. I won you again, 8 goals in 6 games now. He's smashing it, looking really, really good up front, probably taking Brennan Johnson's role away from him with the goal scoring. But on Nottingham Forest, are you liking the progression of Nottingham Forest made at the start of the season?
Again, I think there was a bit up and down during that match. They had played a better first half than second half. But, I think at the start of the season, it's just about, for teams especially like that, it's just about getting the points on the board.
3 points, yeah.
And, it's a big 3 points. Whether they're going to be, fighting relegation or, if they're going to be higher up the table, they're just an important 3 points. And I think at this moment in time, I'm probably less on my prediction, on our prediction.
Yeah.
But it's 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
We've seen last year how much can change.
If they can win every game at home.
Villa last year winning relegation.
You even go back 2 seasons ago. I know it was a bit of a unprecedented circumstance, but Newcastle, stuff like that. You just don't know what's really going to happen. So I'm not too worried on Nottingham Forest progression at the moment.
I think Forest defensively look really solid. I would say. Obviously week 1 against us, for them to sort of, they obviously didn't grind out a result, but they put the pressure on us for sure.
For a long period of time.
And we sort of had to utilise our half chances to get a result there. Yeah. And I think the same thing. First half, I think the stat was that Sheffield had 0.03 expected goals, and I often talk about the expected goal stat, but I think it's a really good reflection of the true run of the game. And look, obviously, I think Sheffield created a little bit more in the second half, and the game maybe opened up a little bit. But I think Forest fans can maybe look to get a bit more consistency out of their team this year, and maybe trying to grind out a few more results that, get a few more points.
As far as Sheffield, Hammer, I think as you pronounce it, the goal 3 minutes in the second half, belting strike, cutting in on the receiving on the right foot, far corner. It was good signs from, I think, I really saw, that first, again, similar to Forest, the first 20-odd minutes of the second half, they were in control of the game. You see by possession stats, they actually won, I think, the possession battle in the end, because that start was so solid for them. A shame they couldn't get a point at least, because these are the sort of points we talk about away from home, snatching a point here and there.
I think it's just kind of a reflection of what we said at the start of the year. About unfortunately, everyone had him bottom of the table, but the wonder goal kind of is a bit of a reflection of maybe how hard it's going to be them to create chances this year.
Yeah.
And like if you're scoring goals like that and you can't ground out a point,
It's so frustrating.
It's not great. Yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
It's not great signs for the long term because like you're gonna need if you want to get points and you want to get results, you're gonna need to like be able to create a lot more fluidly, a lot more like in a high volume.
The open opportunities, right? When they you have so much possession and not do
can't
that.
rely on goals like that.
Yeah.
To get you points
And wins, yeah.
So yeah, look, they're going to want to try and fix that sooner rather than later. But yeah,
I think before we touch on them and move over to the next game, I think it's key. They're not giving up, but you can see the lack of signings that I think they're almost submitting. Let's go down. Let's get the rebound money payments and come back up maybe in 2 more years' time.
bit of a Fulham.
Yeah, like well, that's what Fulham used to do. But then Fulham all of a sudden last year went and splashed Paulinho, secured Willie and and the likes of that, and even Dan James bringing him in as well. That's I think the sign of a team that sort of got the payments going up and down, and then said this year's our year. I think Sheffield are saying we'll bounce up and down maybe another time, and then give it a crack because right now there's not enough Premier League talent in there. I think we can all agree, but solid signs as just playing football, and the fans will be happy with the way they played, but you want to point away there on the road, unfortunately. Moving on to this early fixture on Saturday, Liverpool-Bournemouth. I think we all got a good watch of this one. 3-1 Liverpool. A quick summary of the game. Awful start for Liverpool. Alisson caught poor pass. He was yellow carded. Trent's heavy touch led to the goal. And then all of a sudden they just flipped the switch and Szoboszlai, Diaz, McAllister, all these guys just sparked. And I think those three were the ones who won it for Liverpool. I think Salah probably had a poor game, but we talk about the midfield, and I think I was sort of trying to describe this, in the predictions that against big teams they'll struggle because they're out of possession, they can't really defend. But against a Bournemouth, these guys looked $1 million because they didn't have to really defend too much. Don't get me wrong, Bournemouth looked great in the counter attack, and Iraola got them working very, very hard. But I thought once Liverpool was a 2-1 up, was only going one way and one way only. How did you see Liverpool's midfield and how they played in this one?
Yeah, I think it was a lot like better in comparison to the Chelsea game. In the Chelsea game, they didn't get much of the ball, so it was a bit hard to see. Like, as you said previously, and as well in your predictions, like you're expecting this type of thing when they have a bit more of the ball and stuff, their attackers are really going to flourish. Yeah, and like it was probably good to see that in terms of like I can understand now like your point of view and where you're coming from. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I saw it as well, but like
to a lesser extent, I guess.
To a lesser extent, still like obviously those mistakes at the start, like even against teams such as like the Brightons of the world, the Aston Villas, like they're not going to let you like make those mistakes and at least not like come out with a draw in the end. Like it was a bit concerning in that aspect, but in terms of like their attacking thing, like it looks amazing. Like I was even listening to Klopp when I don't know if you guys seen it, but the signing video with Endo. So he's like the first time he meets Endo, like he walks over to him and he's like, gives him a handshake. He's like, "We need you, man." He goes, "We're too offensive."
He knows. I tell you, last week against Chelsea, he said, "I'm happy with the performance," because he knows what he is installed. I think they've said we're just going to attack, right? It's just attack, and we score more than you. That's what it sounds like.
So yeah, it was a weird one when I was listening to that. But again, like, yeah, I think it was a good performance from them, especially after like McAllister. They were only 2-1 up at that point.
Yeah, 2-1 up.
So McAllister gets a red card, probably a bit of a questionable red card. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand why it was because it studs up. It's into like the shin ankle region.
I think it was 6 red cards this weekend.
Yeah,
shin ankle region. But if you go back on like previous times, something similar happened. There was no force into it. It was more like it wasn't.
You know what it reminds of the Casemiro red card last year, where he didn't quite roll over the ball, but the ball was there, and he sort of went slightly over it, and the malice isn't there. It was very soft challenge.
Don't get me wrong, though, under like studs up tackles into that region, you're always gonna have that risk.
I think it's so harsh.
You're always gonna have the risk. It is harsh, but you're gonna have the. I think like.
He's probably exposing that he's not a defensive midfielder and the fact that he's having to go in for tackles. But we'll talk a bit about the referees later on. But I think that's one of a few sort of I'm not sure how
that
went.
one, and even in the game as well. I'm big on this one. You guys aren't so much. But I reckon the Szoboszlai penalty, like
what's his name?
Is it Szoboszlai? Well, I don't know what his name is.
It works. Everyone understands his name.
Szoboszlai or something.
Szoboszlai. Yeah, whatever his name is.
Szoboszlai, you got a game.
Talk about, because you're passionate about this penalty, right?
I just don't think there was any contact at all. Like I understand that, like the argument is like if someone wants to put in a like slide tackle and you like jumped over a ball. He hasn't hit the ball.
That's what I said off camera.
Yeah, like I understand that point of view, but he's put a leg out, and the ball's gone around him, and he's jumped over the leg. If you actually look in slow mo, there is no contact, and if there is, it's the most
faint contact.
Contact I've ever seen.
Look, I completely disagree, to be honest. I think,
Go ahead.
I think, unfortunately, the way the game is nowadays, you have to exaggerate contact to get the penalty.
Exaggerate, not...
Yeah, exaggerate.
Exaggerating is different, though.
Yeah, but okay, maybe he slightly preempted and slightly exaggerated.
I'd like to see at what point in the image he got contacted.
Which was inevitably coming. He sticks a leg out. The ball is nowhere near him.
But the moment he gets contact... I agree. The moment even there's slight contact, you go down.
I think that is such a blatant pen. I think that is like such a mistake.
I think that's ridiculous. I agree.
It's a poor challenge.
Agree, disagree.
I would say it's a poor challenge. I get where you come from because there's no actual context by the word of law.
No, but on the word of the law, I agree.
Firstly, I think there's
in the box, that type of challenge, even the slightest contact is a pen. I agree. Yeah. But you can't give a pen now to no contact.
It just looks so blatant, and the VAR's got to overturn that because he's been given on field.
I don't know if you're talking about no contact though.
I don't think there's any.
I think he nicks him. I was watching on a tiny screen, but
I think even if it was the most fractional, look, I agree that I think he has to touch him. You know?
Yeah.
But I think on a tackle like that, firstly, I think he does. I think on a tackle like that, any nature, whether it's a
nick, if he touches him,
or he smacks him, I think it's a pen.
If he touches him, you're right. But that's where I didn't see it.
Yeah. I think that's why I say it from like, so the challenge is so poor that it almost has to be a penalty. Yeah. But secondly, I think I get where you come from because some of the penalties over the last year, even the first 2 weeks, for more that hasn't been given is probably more the premise behind it. Again, I'll get onto it later on in the show, but I get where you come from the fact that we saw last year worse challenges not being given penalties, and then this weekend some absolutely not given.
We'll get touched on the one in our game. I mean, on what I'm saying,
the Eddie and Keddy, the Eze one where he's flipped it and spun. Yeah,
on what I'm saying, I think that like the Eze one almost has to be a penalty.
Yeah,
but we'll
there's been a lot of inconsistency. But summarise a bit more of the game. Obviously, the Diaz goal was remarkable. Great ball in from the right, flicks it up to himself. Mini bites over the shoulder.
Again. Like
I said in a separate video.
I think he's their best attacker at the moment.
He's like a new transfer. He only played like 8 or so games in the Premier League since last year. 8 starts last year, and he's like a whole new player. And the fact that he's stopping Núñez getting the team.
He's just so lethal.
He's clinical. He just finishes when he gets the opportunity. But then you also got like Szoboszlai on the score sheet. Sal on the score sheet from his penalty. Szoboszlai setting up.
Lucky. Great save from Neto. Unfortunately,
I had him as captain of fantasy as well.
Unfortunately that it
mispen
sits back in front of him and that's tough, but Salah looks a little bit off it.
I think it's just, and then Szoboszlai shot, rebound, Jota on the spot. So the front they all scored. They all look, like you said, like really aggressive, really remarkable in that sort of final third. But for me, the standout, it's got to be Szoboszlai.
I thought it was really good. Szoboszlai.
Looking improved from last week, but better than the rest of the midfield. He sort of stood out in that midfield battle. And like I said, Diaz, like it's the clinical nature just to find the goal and make a goal when it probably isn't there. Like that goal summarised. He flicked it to himself and still managed to get it on target and away into the corner that Neto was, it was.
I think one thing that Szoboszlai and Trent offer really well. I know there's similar side of the pitch playing very kind of similar roles, but they both have a really good long ball.
Yeah,
and I think in a team with a lot of pace, trying to create space and create holes, I think it works really well in that Liverpool team because they can both ping a ball, stretch the defence, holes out the back. The pace like with Salah, Jota, all their attacking threats. I think that's a really useful weapon that they're going to have now with some. I thought it looked really good.
And just to finish up the game, Bournemouth didn't look too bad. Obviously, the early goal from Semenyo from the Solanke turnover from Trent there, they look good. I think they were being a bit more aggressive than we would think Bournemouth would be back in a few other days with the Scott Parks, Eddie Howes of the world. So there's progress there, but I think Liverpool's midfield just outclassed them. It still just feels like, I
think, with Bournemouth that they're going to be holding onto those opportunities to counter-attack. Yeah. Whereas more of that and less of sort of the organic build-up goals.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like they have that in them yet.
Not quite there yet.
But it does. They do seem like one of the more deadly teams around that bottom area to be out on the counter. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of goals like that this year. Keep them up.
Perfect. Move to the midday fixtures. Wolves, Brighton. Also same time as the Liverpool one there. One goal for Wolves and Brighton with the 4 goals. Wolves just look so toothless in the final third that They create so many. United, they probably should have beaten us 2-0.
They got destroyed as well,
chopped up,
which is not good because they were poor for attacking.
Exactly.
And
I just want to make a quick comment here, but like, I don't even know what to say with Brighton. Like, we probably all look at all of our predictions, and I don't think any of us put them in there top 8 at least. Because
I still think the good teams.
Europe hasn't come yet.
I know, but all the reasons we said weren't around.
Match week 2 or 3.
But I think it was around when it was around Caicedo and McAllister leaving too.
And let's see when Europe comes around if their midfield can maintain the same amount of defensive structure and because look, none of us said they're not going to score goals, and that's what they're doing. They're scoring goals,
top 10 in the league.
But we said that the reasons they're going to finish low is because the guys above them are just good, just better. That's not discrediting them. And the fact that we don't think they have the depth around.
I reckon end of the year he'll be at Man City. If I'm going to be honest,
Ciso's insane. He was so good.
Here's the counter argument, because you talk about Bonanotte there and Ciso's there. Dahoud didn't even start; he came off the bench. João Pedro came off the bench. Ferguson didn't play great, but still looked all right. But I think for me, Matoma's run.
What's his name? Sorry, the young small midfielder guy.
Midfielder guy.
Scott. He's a Scottish guy.
Oh, Billy Gilmore.
Yeah, Billy Gilmore played.
He was like a Chelsea region. Now looks like he's dictating midfield for Brighton. He's like, but I was going to say Mitoma's running goal.
Yeah,
that is
good goal.
Right now the goal of the season for me. He skipped past 5. He's strong. He got fouled twice. They pulled him back twice. He's still going to keep going.
Well, I think it's just like every year though. Like you're looking like this year they flocked out 160 million. Did they even bring? Who did they bring in this year?
They brought in João Pedro for 30 mil.
And Freeze for Dahoud, Milner.
And Milner.
Yeah.
So like,
you can
already see next year, like, if not January, probably not January because they want to keep their squad like nice and intact. But like, you can already see next year probably Matoma's probably out of the win.
Man City, perfect Man City.
Matoma's 27. He's not gone.
I think Arsenal's anywhere.
Perfect for Man City.
To be fair, it does sound like they've already labelled Evan Ferguson as 100 mil. So, and Arsenal apparently interested in him.
And Matoma will get a 50 mil transfer.
Matoma's not the one to go, but there is players there for sure.
Even in Ciso, the way he's playing, what's he, 18, 19?
But he didn't start the first game either. Like, De Zerbi's he's made depth out of nothing. We talked about, that's why you're probably right. He's made depth out of nothing. He's made depth from free transfers.
Well, even look at the likes of Billy Gilmore, whose career looked like it was gone.
Gone at Chelsea.
Even when he went on loan. Where did he go?
Norwich, I think.
Norwich, yes. Norwich. 18 months ago now. He looked like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, since that, I think it was the FA Cup debut against United when he looked like
remarkable.
He was the next Zidane. Since that day, like, he did nothing. And then now, like...
Even last year, he was having like little 15-minute spurts with the bench. Yeah. And now he's starting, and obviously it's Wolves. But Wolves' midfield is not... It wasn't bad at all.
He knows how to, like... The best way to explain it is everyone at that level of like Premier League has quality, but it looks like De Zerbi knows how to like cushion them in to like games. Like every time you see one of those players get on the field, it's like they don't underperform.
No,
like
I just think they know their role really well. I think good coaching means that like they know like what their teammates are going to do.
I'm running and here, then, you're running.
And then they just have faith in the yeah. But in Ciso was really good in the weekend. But what you would notice is that he made like a lot of dummy runs. And he made a lot of selfless plays, which indirectly meant that he got involved. But it also meant that there was times there where like it looked like he was completely out of the picture because he made like such a random run. But as a result, like it stretched the defense, created holes, and he popped back up and got a contribution. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if my little bet is I think Solly March, how high he's playing at the moment. It seems to be like probably one of their quicker attackers and maybe one of their better finishes. I mean, Danny Welbeck was dropping pretty deep.
He's Solly March almost like not a false 9, but he's up there like really high up the pitch.
He was sort of the one always getting on the end of the balls, and I wouldn't be surprised if he scores a lot of goals this year because he looks really good.
Talk about in Ciso, those 2 balls to March, almost
that
like
outside of the
that was beautiful. So good.
That was beautiful.
Good.
Like some of the football they play is like
not even like
they're taking the piss.
Don't even care about Brighton at all. But I was off my feet for that goal. Like I was like,
giving
it a clap. Like
so clean.
Oh, both of the assists, so they're just perfectly timed.
He didn't have to break his stride.
Into
Great
Solly
goals,
March's run,
into
their run. Like that's like a forward's dream.
Yeah.
When you look at the likes of like Haaland and stuff, and why they've scored so many goals like that,
balls
because
like that
of like
from
De Bruyne and stuff like that.
I think most importantly, if you don't have Estupiñán or Mitoma in your FPL team, you're making a mistake because
lucky I had both of
these
them.
guys
I
are
don't know,
killing
but
it.
there's other good 6.5 mil minutes. So
But-
just keep that.
I don't have
Saying that, João Pedro, I think, screwed over most of the public. With his
Never
goal.
had João Pedro.
You know what?
I had Nunes, so I'm sure it's even dodgier.
I was say, De Zerbi's going to turn to Pep because he's like changing the midfield and forward line every game that you can't
De Zerbi
trust
roulette.
him. Yeah, literally is. Literally is. Like,
Zerbi
who's
roulette.
playing this week? Is Welbeck, is it Ferguson? But no, overall, like, summarising the game up, obviously Stupian gets the follow through. It's like somebody gets high at the pitch. He was up overlapping.
We even look at his
so
goal.
high. He was in the box for the
Yeah.
rebound. So they are committing so much numbers forward. They're playing such beautiful football. We talked about in the pre-season, and I was talking about the end of last year with you both.
Yeah.
I just love watching them
Yeah.
because between them and when Brentford look on at home, they're the most beautiful teams to watch. They just pass it around teams, and you saw the clip from the Premier League in the pre-season where they literally passed in triangles from the back. They force the ball all the way back to the keeper, triangles all the way to halfway. Like they just play.
I think it's also
awesome
the fact
football.
that like it feels like really organic. You know, they haven't
yeah.
gone out and bought.
There's no massive signings.
It's like that they've got it through like trusting what they have, good recruitment, and you know a little bit of the under the radar, like you know names and managers, etc. And it just makes it like all that much better because like they can compete with they can play this exact same way as the big boys.
Yeah,
and have the same success. It's really, it's really
Question
good. It's
to
really
you,
good.
blokes. This year, who's going to be the nationality of the gem that comes through for Brighton? Because every year there's one. I want to hear the nationality you reckon. We got the Paraguayan last year.
Uruguay. Let's go Uruguay. Some Uruguayan winger.
Well, so they just signed some guy, but I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm gonna go Ecuador.
There you go. Bang, Ecuador.
Fair enough.
Just quickly finish the game with Wolves. Again, like, I know it's 4-1. It looks awful, but they created some chances.
Mateus Cunha looks good.
He's going to have to score all the
He's
goals.
yeah. I mean, at the moment, he's creating chances, and
No one can put
it just
him in.
can't seem. Yeah. That's the problem is that it feels like there's just no one to get on the end of it.
They should have beaten United 2-0. They probably should have scored 1 or 2 in this game because Brighton probably took the foot off the gas. But do they try and get in a strike, or do they just try and work it out? What's going to go on there?
I don't know.
Oh, I think. Look, I think not getting a striker kind of gives off the energy that like they're maybe content to try and grind it out. You know, results here and there, but maybe the going down wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah, I feel it's stiff on Gary O'Neill because he's still playing some good football with Wolves. Like
Wolves weren't that bad in the weekend. Like a 4-1 was probably not representative of how
their intent.
Of how sort of not competitive, but like of how bad Wolves were. You know? Like they weren't that bad.
I just to be honest, you guys nailed it, Gary O'Neill. I thought it was good last year, but I didn't think it'd be this good with Wolves. In the space of 2 weeks,
especially before the United game, what did he have? 6 days?
A few days, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I think that no result against United could unfortunately come back to like just be one of those games where those points would have been so massive.
Those 3 points or that point would have been.
Well,
so
it wasn't even like the point. Like that really should have been for them 3 points.
That was 3 points.
That's what I mean.
That segues perfectly to our next game. Probably the most eye-catching performance and eye-catching result of the weekend. I think Tottenham 2, Manchester United 0.
Yeah.
A tale of 2 halves, to put it kindly, let's say that way. The first half, we sort of mentioned it earlier at the start of the show, Rashford missed a pretty easy gimme header for a forward. Bruno Fernandes, the biggest sitter,
Was that the first half as well, was it?
Yeah, Rashford's a few minutes before. So Bruno put it out to the... it was
the
a Rabona cross.
The Bruno,
It was a Rabona cross to Rashford.
Rabona cross.
So clean. And Rashford made a stinker of that.
And then Rashford missed that. And then obviously Luke Shaw's ball was delicious to Bruno Fernandes. Timed it perfectly,
and then
blast at the bar. Then you got the other end, and it was Pedro Porro, again, Tottenham moving forward. Pedro Porro on the edge of the area, hits the upright, and then they hit off Luke Shaw's leg.
He was doing that all last
the
year,
crossbar.
Pedro Porro. He has that in that sort of back.
He's a very attacking wing back.
Yeah.
But there was so many chances the first time, I'm like, how is it a goal?
Yeah,
I was excited how United played.
AngeBall.
Second half.
AngeBall.
Yeah, well, like United from the first whistle came out looking a lot better than they did against Wolves. We actually started don't get me wrong, we weren't of what we were last year, but we started playing a lot better, playing fluid football, creating chances. I don't remember a chance we created against Wolves, really.
No, there's none really.
Yeah, none really. 2 or 3 in the first half. But are we saying with United, because you see the drop-off in the second half, are we purely leaving this to fitness and you think which is inexcusable, don't get me wrong, but we're saying once they get fitness, they'll be all right?
I think we saw in the preseason.
Is that what we're saying?
I think we saw in the preseason, I think Goldwich did bring it up, that the starting 11 never played a full 90 minutes in preseason.
They never played more than 55.
Yeah.
I think it could definitely click a little bit.
It's going to take time. We saw last year that the fitness thing was a problem.
As United fans watching, as United fans ourselves, it wasn't actually like all right in the sense that we can see that we're just unfit and like give it by match week 4 will be all right. Don't get me wrong, it's inexcusable.
It's inexcusable. I think,
but like, is that like
if you're wanting
we're just going to do what we did last year?
But if you wanted to proceed, we finished third. You want to go on, man. That's the logical. That's how things work. You want to go from third higher. You're not going to finish in the top 2
right. That's why
by giving away points to these guys and City.
I don't think you're that far away. I think at the moment it looks a little bit grim. You know, in terms of like, scraped a result against Wolves and you just, like, you know,
battered by Tottenham.
Lost to Spurs 2-0. But I don't think you're that far away. I just feel like there's a little bit of hesitation around players like Onana and maybe like Casemiro in the middle and like the style of play you're sort of willing to play, in the sense that if still feels like, so yeah, you guys are obviously trying to build up from the back, play those risky passes, except I don't think you're actually playing them. I think a lot of the time you're taking maybe the second or third option. Yeah, like you're not going to Wan-Bissaka, but you're playing it to like maybe Varane instead of Casemiro is a little bit higher up.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think as a result, it's affecting like your whole build-up play and not getting Mount involved enough. I think Mount needs to drop deeper.
I think on that, we're not able to play it in because the likes of Mount and Fernandes can't play on the half turn.
Yeah.
They can't receive and play on the half turn. I think
that's a major problem.
And that ruins the whole Onana thing. We saw that great pass.
Yeah. If Mount can't play that way, then I don't get the signing at all. Because what was the point of signing someone who's supposed to replace Eriksen, who played that role so much?
Killed it, yeah.
And he can't play on the half turn and turn and open up.
All I would say before...
It's going to affect your style of play so much.
All I say before you jump in is it's now transitioned away. It wasn't much pressure on Ten Hag last year. It was all like the players' fault. I thought a lot of hostility with director Ten Hag because of the substitutes, because this is Mount his signing, obviously Anthony's signing. Both of them have not performed. And if he wants to play this style of play and he thinks these are his guys, what are the point of these 180 million you've basically got sitting there that haven't been able to perform? Anthony, don't be wrong, I like when he's in an area to shoot, but he can't get past. He doesn't dribble past anyone. Mount can't receive on the half turn.
Yeah.
These are two of his signings.
Up top. Like, you know, Rashford last year was really good off the left.
We call that like...
Garnacho's playing really mid. Like, he was shocking last week.
He was awful last week.
He was actually a lot better against Tottenham. Don't get me wrong.
But the effect it's having on the team is that Rashford is a quarter of the player himself last year.
He can't deliver it.
Because he was so much... Because he feels
so much... We call that the graveyard shift.
Yeah, it's the graveyard shift.
But like... The point, they just don't play into them. Play Sancho there, who you've been playing.
I know.
Like, all
that's what confusing. That's what expands out happening to Hag.
Yeah, but you say Sancho's been playing there all pre-season, didn't ever play when the starting 11 played.
Yeah, that's true.
No, but
that's very
true. In pre-season.
Okay, yeah, maybe you're right, but it's in like Ten Hag had spoken about Sancho playing that role.
Oh,
like,
he does though when he comes on.
I think at these sort of games, you needed to scrape goals here and there. Right? I know you did that last week, so credit to you guys last week because it's clearly not clicking and you still got 3 points. But this week, like, and once again, you had chances, but look, I think there's a lot of upside potential for you guys. But if you wanted to, push for that sort of third, I mean, even if you're trying to maybe even challenge the top 2, like
you're trying to break in.
That's the point. If you're trying to stay in touch with the top 2 for as long as you can, then you want to go. You're going to want to click soon because we've already got a 3-point gap on you guys, and it doesn't.
And it's going to grow from here.
Oh
go ahead.
Yeah, I think like everything you've just said is like perfect. I think for me as a United fan, like I'm worried.
Yeah.
But I'm more like I'd actually say I'm more angry than worried because which is like my perspective. Because like I'm more angry that it's already like we've dropped 3 points that we didn't need to drop due to like not being prepared, like being sluggish. I'm not worried because I still think that in the long run, as the 38 game season comes on, I don't really see us having like any problems.
Yeah.
I can already see like from the Wolves game to the Tottenham game and it'll go on. Like the players just need to gel. Like bringing in Mount. That's either going to work or not work, and we'll go back to Eriksen, which will be fine. Or if it works, good on Mount will play well. Yeah. Like we still got Højlund to come in. I'm not worried about.
How far is he away?
He probably might be on the bench.
He'll be around the place, Arsenal. But if he
for the
plays,
next game, Nottingham Forest, Arsenal, he'll be on the bench.
All I'm worried about is the gap, right? And a thing you talk about anger.
Yeah, I'm more angry than worried.
But here's my anger. Like, don't get me wrong. There was a time I hated Fred. But last year, I reckon, especially the back end of the season, when Casemiro was starting to fall off, I think it wasn't really mentioned, but he did sort of, especially with the cup finals coming around and the Europa League, he didn't really perform well. Fred was our best player in the the Europa League second leg against Barca when he scored that goal. Best player on the pitch. FA Cup final, he put in a shift. Don't get me wrong, pretty average in possession, but put a shift against De Bruyne. You sell him for 15 million, but you had McTominay available for 20 million to West Ham.
30,
tell me how that makes any sense. So you played Fred more, you didn't play McTominay, but you sold Fred, a pivotal part of the pace second half of the season. Someone we need right now. I don't know. He would fit so well in that team right now. Because Casemiro needs some help. Don't get me wrong. I think he needs help.
Especially, I agree with you 100%. Especially like just to kickstart our season. Get in there, get the double pivot going. He's an
energizer bunny. He runs around. Like,
once we get like the momentum going,
then you can bench him for
Mount. Then put Mount in to play 100%. Against like Sheffield United, against Luton to find some form. He doesn't need to be finding form against Tottenham.
Yeah, because we were talking about, I said I'd rather play McTominay than Mount, but I would rather play Fred. But you need someone who can just sit in and help Mount Casemiro out.
That's why I say I'm like so angry.
That's the anger for me.
Yeah, that's the anger. Yeah. Like, that's where my anger comes from as well. I'm more angry that it's just like, it feels already like it's another season where we go, if those points that you can't, I know it's away
not
from
to
home,
City and not to Arsenal.
Tottenham might be a lot better than everyone thinks. So in the long run, it might not look like the worst 3 points dropped. Yeah. But if you're going to like, don't get me wrong, I didn't expect that we're going to win the league this year. But like, I expected at least us to close that gap a little bit.
Yeah.
And if we're going to close that gap, you can't be starting the season off again like we started off last season.
Is Casemiro a bit of a watch, in the sense that Jamie Carragher's been saying it, like,
I think it's a lot of...
I think it's a bit of both.
60, 70 mil,
but I think, though,
31 years
Gold, which talks about a lot of United fans, as I talk about it, they just target the international players. Onana...
But is he a bit of a watch, though? Like,
you've got to keep an eye on him, but he needs help. He's
been worse, don't get me wrong, than he was last year. But the way Carragher's talking about him...
Like he's the worst player in the Premier League.
It's hard to say when even in that first game, when you look back at the Wolves game, when he was standing there, both fullbacks had pushed up, and it was just him in front of the two centre backs, and Cunha's running at him.
What are you gonna do
with Mateus Nunes as well running at him as well? How is he supposed to stop both of them?
And with the new Prem laws, all these yellow cards and stuff. We'll talk about us when we get onto it, but they give it out for nothing. So he can't do what he used to do last year. He used to just hack people down.
Yeah,
he can't do that anymore.
Last year, if in those situations, he would just clean them up.
The inconsistency is
remarkable.
Well, going back to the last thing I'll say with the United Tottenham game is, the referees want to go on about Onana's mistake and do a massive apology out, which I'm not disagreeing with. Like, that probably was...
It's fine by me, yeah.
That probably was a penalty. I'm not too sure what
Such a penalty.
I don't know what the laws are in those, like with the goalkeepers and that, to be able to talk. Yeah, so with the keeper one, it's hard to say. I'm not too... But I would have thought, under my knowledge, that was a penalty.
Yeah.
But the Garnacho one... His hand is there and it's gone back. VAR as well.
It feels like they played those last year. And like
paid those.
Dunk one paid against him against Luton in week 1 for the exact same thing.
Yeah, even
and
the Dunk one.
That's what is the
I've seen less given. I've seen hands there.
I think it's just karma for all the ones you got handed willingly last year. So
no, don't get me wrong. I've seen ones given with the hands there, let alone there.
All we want is consistency and clear rules.
I think,
pretty simple.
You hear the managers say that all the time. Like, they don't care what gets given, as long as it's consistent across the season. Because you feel like over 38 games, it's gonna ideally pan out.
They're not going to not give those in the future.
Yeah,
I can't see a world where they won't.
Well, there's a massive precedent now. So
we'll move on. Obviously, finish up in Tottenham. We talked a lot about them at the start, but really, really good. A few big games coming up. That have a few big teams
like
ahead.
Madison's injured as well.
Came out the ground with a moonboot and crutches.
Martial says 75%.
So interesting how that goes. But I think Tottenham, if they can get a few more big results as you come towards the North London derby in a few weeks' time, that could be an interesting watch. It could be goals galore, I think, in that game. We'll move on to the next one.
I think 3-0.
Sack of throw. Next game was City and Newcastle late kickoff.
Just quickly, since Pep's out for 2 weeks. Guardiola's having surgery in Barcelona.
Of course, some hair follicles. Some hair follicles.
I don't know, back surgery. So this
that's
guy
some weird thing.
I think their assistant coach, his name is One Man.
Of course, he's
One Man.
One Lilo.
Okay, Lilo's in.
He must be the assistant. But Lilo's in.
Don't worry, their methodology ain't changing.
It still work. He has to be bold and
what's it? Video caption. Lilo in? Question mark.
I reckon. You know what? Looking at Alvarez's progress.
What a screamer.
Yeah,
that
bloke is quality. The fact that when De Bruyne and Haaland are both fit, he doesn't get on the park, is just criminal.
It felt like justice though, because I had Foden in FPL, and the amount of misses Haaland had.
Yeah.
Like, we always talk about Haaland being the best finisher we've ever seen. I can have 3
Do you
sitters.
think that's his like worst game in the last sort of like 6 months?
He had a shocker.
I don't know.
He actually,
Some of these finals he's had like...
Yeah, he's had quieter games for sure.
But
in terms of like...
He finishes each chance.
He had 3 touches or something in the Community Shield or
but
something like that.
That's fine.
Touches.
He didn't have an open chance. But when he has open chance, you just say, goal.
Because,
It just looks goal.
The reason he's in the team is because he's going to put those away.
Bang,
So when he
goal.
doesn't, we always say it changes
What's
the game.
going on?
But oh my God, being a Foden owner, because he looked nuts. He looked insane.
Foden, remarkable. Probably the best part in the pitch outside of Alvarez.
Thank God that Alvarez goal went in, because I couldn't stand it when, everybody goal, Haaland had was just missing, man. It was unbelievable.
I think that Haaland... I don't think Haaland has that many more years either way at Man City. Probably this year, maybe next. That's
Real Madrid.
That's
Here we go, confirmed. Here we go, confirmed. The touch on the game, though. Newcastle, in my predictions, I wanted them to go after the game. They didn't do that. They sat in. They played in possession well, but they just never let them score a goal. To be honest, the game was quite underwhelming. There was not much to talk about other than for Haaland missing the Alvarez finish, and Phil Foden looks like
underwhelming, but it could have been 3 or 4-0.
Yeah, it could have been. Phil Foden literally looks like the guy to fill in De Bruyne. I thought Alvarez would drop in essentially. He looks like he's hanging on the left, and Foden will play down the middle.
Sorry, not De Bruyne. Pep has spoken so much in the past about how good Phil Foden is in that
never
role,
plays him.
and he never plays him there. Like he'll play him on the left over Grealish over playing him through the middle. But finally,
you say that.
Look, we always say like the P out of bloody Pep roulette, but I mean. There is surely no way that Foden cannot play that role now, at least for a couple of weeks.
Well, everyone's seen Man City's signing as well.
Doku.
Yeah, and I haven't seen much of him, but I'll tell you one game I watched him play, and that game scared the living daylights out of me. It was I'd never heard of the kid before, but Euro quarters against Italy when I was like...
it would have been quarters then.
When I was watching that, no one else on the pitch was dangerous.
Has he been around that long?
No one else. He was 18 at the time. Okay. I'd never heard of him at all. And there's this guy Doku, and I'm like, he's easy beat against Belgium. They're playing people we haven't even heard of before. This bloke was waltzing past people.
Don't get me wrong. A super player. It's different to what Pep's used to, right?
It's different. I don't think he's like
he's a direct pacey winger.
Yeah, throwback,
exactly.
I don't think he's a clinical finisher.
It felt like Pep never liked that sort of Sterling.
At least Sterling could finish. He was kind of a clinical finisher.
Sterling would get into a tap-in spot.
That's literally my one criticism of Sterling.
A good signing. How will it fit? That's what to be seen. I think the big takeaway, Haaland looked like he was struggling. He'll probably score 5 next week. We got Phil Foden, who played very, very well, and then Alvarez. Awesome in that game. Sunday fixtures now. I watched both these ones. Aston Villa 4, Everton 0, and you just knew it was going to happen, right? Everton unlucky in their first game, but we sort of know where they're going to be finishing. And then Villa come up a 5-1 loss. Unai Emery at home, in front of Villa Park. You just knew it was going to be a waltz in the park for them.
One thing I'll say is I hope Leon Bailey's not injured because the bloke finally found some form.
So that was the biggest takeaway of that game. Him and Diaby as a combination, they looked remote. They were quick. They were interplay.
They're both playing more like wide as well, cutting in.
I think it just shows how bad Gerrard was at Villa because
couldn't get these guys working.
All these guys, Digne looked horrible. Leon Bailey looked horrible. Like all these guys, who came with like such high expectations, were just getting no attacking output, poor defensively, mistakes, and really poor on the ball. But as you said, like Digne was putting in amazing balls. Leon Bailey was getting to the byline, whipping it back in. Good finish from him as well. Diaby looks so good. Diaby looks so good.
The ball that got crossed in, I think it was his left foot or something.
He's going to have a big day out.
So smacked it and great save and Pickford onto the post. But I thought that was casting into the top corner. He hit that so cleanly.
I think this year is like one thing last year was a bit scary for Villa fans is that if you could shut down Ollie Watkins, it was looking like
it was tough.
They were going to be they couldn't score. Yeah. At the moment, it looks like they have goals around the place. Like John McGinn finally scored first. I think it was his first goal set in 62 games.
Comment?
Yes.
That was hilarious.
What do you comment?
He's like, he was like going, anyone before that game, it's like anyone who has me in the FPL team, you're having a laugh. Like I scored 2 goals last year. No, it might have scored one goal last season. He goes, I'm the worst rated midfielder that actually like plays week in, week out.
And there he goes,
and scores.
All I'll say though for Villa, this game was filled with injuries, by the way. Like Pebble dropped Coutinho, looks like he's done his hamstring.
Oh, really?
Calvert-Lewin got a big
Leon Bailey had a big bruise, but that didn't look too bad.
Bailey, I think, will be all right, but again, another injury problem. Obviously, Buendia's out currently. Mings is out. I think Digne went off as well. He had something wrong with him as well. So all seem to be falling apart for Villa. Obviously, Zaniolo, the former Roma man, come on loan. Big sign to fill in Buendia's spot, right? They're playing behind. But
do you think Zaniolo will play?
Yeah, I think he will.
If Diaby has to play out wide, he'll play. But Diaby looks like he was playing as a 10 in this game, basically, and just floating.
Diaby's playing really central. I wasn't aware that this is sort of the role he may have played.
It's a 10 apparently.
But
who was playing on the right then?
Leon Bailey was playing like right, like sort of midfield and getting up the pitch.
Yeah, and then I think Leon Bailey was always...
Digne was pushing up on the left.
And Matty Cash is like more of like the defensive fullback in that team.
And then because they
Bailey gets up and Digne gets up. Pau Torres sort of shifts the left.
We saw them bring on Diego Carlos to pair up with Pau Torres and Konza. So obviously they're prepared to play as a 3 back as well. So like both games have gone to a 3 back in the last 20 minutes. So Emery knows how to win European trophies. He's preparing for that. Zaniolo signing's massive. He's a quality player, can play at the 10.
They're building up a serious squad now. I mean, obviously they have a lot of injuries. But like they're building up a serious squad.
If they get these players back, like Coutinho's not out for too long, hopefully.
Like every team in the Prem now
has
such attacking depth.
With the likes of like Zaniolo there and stuff, Coutinho wouldn't get much game.
But in European football and Carabao, I think they'll go for a Carabao Cup, I reckon, this year. I'm going to try and do a European Cup double.
It'd be such a Unai thing to go and win the to go and win it.
Yeah, and I think just overall, like that midfield looks so strong. Like I talk about the Brightons, the Villas,
he loves European.
The Newcastles. Their midfield is just so strong. Like we used to think the midfield gap from City, their Conference League, they're Conference League because the rest of Europe,
they have a lot of midfield
depth
now.
The Premier League's top 8 midfields are incredible.
And Zaniolo
off the bench
aren't there.
And Tielemans plays like a right wing sometimes when he comes on now because they can't fit him in the midfield. Like the midfield quality is stacked.
And he was quality at Leicester as well, Tielemans. Like he was one of their players.
He had a pretty poor last year. I mean, he was good.
His work rate gets slandered. I think that's why Emery doesn't start him because he doesn't work hard. Emery will be big on that sort of stuff. And then Duran came off the bench and scored, I think, the quickest goal off the bench that Villa have had in the last decade or something like that. So
touching on Everton though.
Yeah, go on Everton. Yeah.
They look very
they're off it.
Everton look horrible.
Isn't the reason Dyche comes in there is to play Dyche football, bring back the 4-4-2? Like I understand you want to make it entertaining, and it's all about the fans. Like you look at Tottenham. Tottenham would probably be like happier to finish 6th than to finish like 5th.
Yeah.
If they would have better football because they know for the future years. That's the whole thing. But you're Everton. You're not Tottenham. Tottenham are looking.
You're just trying to stay up at the moment. If you're Everton,
your Tottenham's idea was we want to play better football like Arsenal have done because then we can fight for Champions League and that type of stuff in future years. Everton just need to stay up.
All I'll say though, Dyche football relies on up here being switched on and no mistakes. Yeah. Actually, Young's throw-in was a honker. Michael Keane slipped himself over.
Stinker.
Tarkowski, who Dyche loves, is mid at best at the moment. If you want to work under a Dyche system, it was the Brown Hills, the Goodmansons of the world, just not making a mistake. And Everton right now, the experienced players, the players he's brought in, the players he trusts, Ashley Young's a Premier League veteran. He'd do better than that. Throwing the ball in to the opposition from a throw-in, trying to play it back to Pickford. Pickford's, it's harsh, but your experience gave you England number 1, failing in the box. Like, these small mistakes, if you're going to grind out nil-nil,
swinging at the ball.
Why are you making these mistakes? Experience plays out the back.
Pickford's always had that in him, but like you just
can't like be doing that in Dyche.
If you're going to succeed under a Dyche system, you need to
giving away goals,
nearly no mistakes, and make the most of your chances. And they didn't do either of those things. It was a really bad day off Everton.
And we talked about off-stream a bit, and I've listened to a few other podcasts saying it. It's not the typical Dyche play. Obviously, when DCL's in there, you can sort of play it like it, but they're not playing long balls. They're trying to play in possession. They just can't play in possession. They can't control the ball.
I don't think they have the players to play possession, though.
But they can't play long balls either, because when DCL's not there, you got Morpay. He's stinking up the gaff. The fans
I thought Morpay wasn't horrible when he came
missed that one-on-one. Like, there was almost impossible. He kicked it straight at the keeper, Emi Martinez.
The
ball fell to him.
I thought he took a decent. Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't, but the Everton fans on his back, bullying him off on the field and stuff like that. So, it's not looking good. Positives for Villa, negatives for Everton. The later kickoff, this was probably... I was happy with this performance because, hearing what you said about West Ham, but I always like when West Ham do well. Winning 3-1 against Chelsea, winning that London derby. How good were West Ham that game? I think they just nailed what they did right?
Yeah. Well, I think we were saying before the show about James Ward-Prowse as a signing.
What a signing.
Your pre-season prediction couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, you nailed it.
That signing. If you were to name a player who is more suited to
David Moyes, West Ham,
you would struggle, I think.
Well,
James Ward-Prowse,
as you guys see with my prediction that I've pulled a rabbit out of the hat. I've probably got a few more.
You had a few phone calls.
Yeah, it was Moisey. Who's coming through it? Yeah.
Hey, Fabrizz is I've got his contact on the phone with him regularly. Like, but I just never saw, like, in my opinion, I never saw West Ham.
Not
like,
going
they're a big club. They're not going to go fight relegation last year, win the Conference League, and then go, oh yeah, we're going to go fight relegation this year. They're going to do something. How good? I don't know.
They lost their best
generational
player.
talent. Yeah.
Like
the problem was the problem is the point in time where you made that statement is that there was zero links.
But even now, like you look at their team, Alvarez didn't start. I don't know if he will start, but that's he at the moment. Alvarez didn't start. Ward-Prowse did. Ward-Prowse looked excellent, and there's big reports that they're still signing a centre back.
Yeah, I think that's the next.
What happens if Quetta gets down for gambling? Because City have just pulled out of him because there's you haven't seen this.
Yeah, there's some like
you haven't seen. Oh, he's got like serious allegations
against him
for him.
So like Ivan Toney type of stuff.
Yeah, but more serious because Toney was betting on games he wasn't playing for when he wasn't playing for Brentford. But Quetta, they think he's been betting on games that he could have influenced him by playing like yellow card related, etc., etc., etc. So. Yeah,
it's have you seen the memes on Sunday night were hilarious with yellow cards and stuff, yeah.
Something weird. It was like a tweet came out from like 6 months prior to the actual things where it was like, these odds don't make any sense. He never gets yellow carded. And then because apparently someone had loaded up on the market and so because you know how these things, and then apparently, he went and got yellow carded for like the second time that season.
Yeah.
And the odds were like something cooked.
It'd be interesting if that falls through. That could really change their team. Right?
Yeah, I wonder how your predictions go then. Did you forecast that?
I still think they'll.
On West Ham though, like the ball from Ward-Prowse to the Antonio goal, Antonio's finish was stellar. Like push off to Sassy, who's probably
Chelsea
big,
fans
strong
weren't
centre
really
back.
happy with Robert Sanchez regarding that though.
It was a good finish.
I saw it's got like a Rory Jennings Chelsea fan
Rory Jennings
tweeted like we bought the only keeper in the league who's worse than Kepa.
It's pretty harsh. It's gone past. The Sassy's almost like shielding him, and it's almost gone past him. It's a bit hard, but as far as Chelsea go, Caicedo a bit harsh in his debut.
Yeah, I've seen all these things.
Gives the penalty away, turns the ball over.
One error leading to goal. One error leading to penalty. 8 times he turned the ball over. Like he played like 25 minutes. I was like,
he's going to come good though. He hasn't kicked ball in 2 months.
Yeah, what about Mudryk though? Like he actually still can't. Like,
why did they bring him on?
He would have played a good 25 games now. He would have had to play 25 games across all comps.
He's played 10. I think Mudryk has played 10 games.
Not across all comps.
He played 007. I think like
ages ago.
No, it was like the last game of the season, bro. Now, regardless,
Mudryk. How could it have been the last game of the season when he was signed in January?
That substitution that made no sense to me. Raheem Sterling, awesome for that. Looked like the Liverpool Raheem Sterling, where he was just picking the ball up, putting his head up, putting his head down, so I'm going to run.
Which he didn't do it all last year. Just didn't suit the game style.
Do you reckon that was coaching, or do you reckon that was confidence?
Maybe a bit of both.
Because he's looked like his old Liverpool self. He just got it, just went, I'm going to go. And I reckon what Poch said to him, I don't care if you turn the ball over. I trust our back five. You just do what you do. Because Poch had been around. He's seen when he was at City, he was at his early times at Liverpool there, where he would just put his head down and go past players. The Suarez he would just get the ball. That looked like the proper Raheem Sterling that they paid, I don't know how much, 40, 50 million for this season before. If he plays well, Jackson's just getting really unlucky at the moment.
Yeah, Jackson actually looks good.
Yeah.
Even that
midfield.
Chicken Wecker starting.
Great goal. Superb goal.
He looks quality for what he's 18. Really for 18, 19. Like, don't get me wrong, he's only starting because Nkunku's injured, but like...
I think even when Nkunku was there, he was still a part of the pre-season plans.
Don't get me wrong, he would have played a lot of minutes, but he's looking quality.
It's probably just a bit of a big ask to play,
I'm still not, I'm still...
Are you hit and miss in Chelsea?
Oh, yeah, I am hit and miss. I'm not too concerned because, Poch has just come in. Give it a couple more games to them.
I just think West Ham nailed their style of football to a T. I think David Moyes has worked out this, obviously Piquet's going to be good, but I'm not going to play these ball-playing players anymore. We're going to go back to playing Souček, Ward-Prowse, quality balls. Antonio runs in behind.
Big,
Bowen just
guys.
Finesses a goal from nowhere.
Quality, though.
It's just it's not totally Brexit football. It's Brexit, based around that. I think the Gerd red card is another red card. How stupid was that? They put on the second challenge where Jackson turns him. The guy just dives in. obviously a lot of red cards this week.
Definitely,
That was probably the most. That was a stone cold red card. But why do that? That's the most.
It was a second yellow.
Second yellow, yeah.
Sometimes, as you boys would know, like just on the field, you just have a lapse of concentration. I don't know.
Bit of a lapse, eh?
Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah, that's
obviously, quality result for West Ham. You look like you're on the right track there with West Ham and
hopefully.
Chelsea.
As we've said with a lot of our predictions so far, early days.
But we like judging early guys.
See where it's at.
Don't get me wrong; those 4 points so far probably will get them away from any sort of relegation thought though that anyone was talking about. That's about it.
And Chelsea to turn around. I think Chelsea's midfield will come good in a few weeks. Lavia in there, Caicedo will come good. And
do you think Lavia and Caicedo play together?
I think in bigger games, I think they will have to.
Well, they play Enzo at 10.
And play Enzo at 10. Enzo looks so good when he's in the forward half.
But Enzo can defend as well.
Oh, don't get me wrong, he can. For Argentina,
he's a lot better defender than a McAllister. And McAllister's still going to play the A role.
Actually, saying that, Gallagher was playing really, really well. So maybe you play Gallagher and a bit forward, Enzo, and then like a Lavia.
I think Chukwuemeka's
we didn't
I reckon
touch
I
on
played
the
Chukwuemeka.
Did we? Because obviously that was after our last.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, obviously, in terms of like their outlook on the season. He's such a key part to their team. Yeah. I mean, when he's fit, probably the best right back in the league when he's fit.
Makes their team fit.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate for them because,
Thank God they signed Gusto, because without him, who the hell's playing right back? Because Reece Horse was being sold to... Caicedo tucks in right back, yeah.
But that's...
What's happened with Cucurella? Like, he's...
Not good enough. Chilwell's better than him.
Chilwell was just like playing so solid at the moment. I mean, I know he was
so high at the ground.
If he didn't leave Brighton, do you reckon he'd be playing?
No, not Estupiñán.
No, probably because they wouldn't have signed Estupiñán.
Yeah. But if they had signed Estupiñán, I think Estupiñán's a better fullback.
He was their player of the season the year before. Like Cucurella's a good player.
In the right system.
He's just too defensively minded to play that role that like Chilwell's.
And Chilwell's better on the ball than
played left
Cucurella,
back and left centre back in his career. He's not going to play that bomb on.
He used to bomb on.
He was bomb, but he's not as good as Chilwell with his feet.
But it wasn't the same as Chilwell. Chilwell's getting in those positions without the ball.
Yeah.
Cucurella used to occasionally drive, play 1-2s, etc. to get there. Whereas in this team, it's like the ball will be on the right wing. Chilwell will bomb on to the top of the box, and then edge of the box sort of.
We'll finish that again. Chelsea, I think a lot of things to come. They'll be a while till they gel together, but there's good signs there. Then the big game last night, an exciting watch the end. It looked like Palace and Arsenal, really, really tightly contested game, right? Obviously a massive result. We saw full time Declan Rice giving it the big ones. Arteta was really, this is a big result. You guys want to win the league, similar to Forest. You're not playing great football. You've got to get these results.
People on Twitter saying like, already scraping results. It's like
winners win. Winners win.
Yeah. Firstly, a win's a win. Secondly, down to 10 men. Thirdly, saw some weird star where it's like Arteta's never won a Monday night fixture. So
is that really? Is that?
Yeah, apparently.
Right. Okay, right.
He wouldn't have played too many during his
played
time.
4. I think he's lost them all.
Fair enough.
Oh, okay.
So look,
there's a curse gone.
I think we're already.
Arteta ball to the moon.
We've already won the league. but nah. Look, to be fair, Palace away is a tough place to go.
Hard place to go.
They're looking much better defensively this year compared to past years, and look, they troubled us a little bit, but I think overall we were solid enough. Yeah, even when we were down to 10 men, we were sort of taking the piss a little bit. Some triangles here and there.
Let's talk about that yellow card for time wasting, and then minutes later
the Tomiyasu red card is such a joke.
I hate this new rule. It just ruins it.
Firstly, he took, I reckon, 4 seconds to take a throw. I know he was the third in the segment.
Before then, was it who was before they gave him the ball? No, after they gave him the ball. Before they gave him the ball, they took way longer.
It's just so subjective.
Who was it? Was it Declan Rice?
I can't remember who it was. But regardless, it's so
stupid.
Mine ain't Ben White then.
I understand they might pay the yellow for that. But the actual one he got sent off for, on Jordan Ayew. Yeah.
Is it?
I don't even know. It's talking about not touching him. Jesus Christ.
It's a yellow card offence because I think you see that arm extend.
I disagree.
But it's not a second yellow offence. You know what I mean?
I disagrry. I don't even think he was holding him barely. Look, I think that was the softest second yellow I've ever seen.
Second yellow.
He was definitely
so soft. Yeah.
But
pathetic. I think it was so.
Again, it's one of those things. It's sometimes you've just got. It's soft, but...
I feel bad for Tommy, man. He just can't get a run at the moment.
I would say it's so unfortunate.
That's just so stiff.
He played in the right game as well.
He was solid defensively. He's done in his career really good jobs in those sort of those sort of key players at clubs. Rafinha back in the day for Leeds.
Yeah,
he did a job in Salah a couple of years ago. Last year, a bit more of an interrupted year, but playing on Eze for a lot of the day, playing on
hard day. Those guys.
Sort of the talismans in that team. Did a great job defensively. It wasn't amazing going forward, but I feel a bit bad for Tomiyasu because He just can't seem to get a run at the moment. But then Zinchenko came on. Probably, I think, like sort of plays that inverted fullback role the best in the league. I think he's so good at that role. And look, one thing to note, so obviously Saka didn't take the pen, Odegaard took it.
FPL people crying, I'm crying.
Yeah, one, FPL people crying. But two, I actually think, like, as much as Saka taking pens in recent times has been, like, you know, almost his kind of, regen arc story after missing the Euro as well.
One, yeah.
They've always been a little bit shaky. Like, he scored a few, missed a couple, but, like, he's scored more than he's missed. But obviously. But, you know,
otherwise he wouldn't have been on him for that long.
But my point is that, like,
Odegaard's a safety of the sport.
Yeah, it's just there's never been that aura of, like, you know, confidence. And Saka steps up, take a pen. I don't know if it's always going to be, like, you know, throughout his career. I don't know. Like, I don't know if Odegaard's the permanent pen taken out, because it sounds like Odegaard just sort of asked for it. And Saka was
I just feel like Odegaard just talk about aura. He just has that aura. He is the biggest. He's the most captain's captain.
And he looks so confident on the ball. Has, like, you know, a great sense of calmness about him, confidence.
Sent the keeper the wrong way. Gave him the eyes.
Yeah, look, and he just is sort of that player, like, oozes quality, oozes composure. You know, I personally have a lot more faith in Odegaard taking the pen than Saka, just because I've seen, like, you know, unfortunately, unfortunately, Saka's, you know, is always going to have that sort of
the back of the mind.
It's always going to be that way in big moments, and like, don't take the risk. Yeah. It's just, unfortunately, I just think, you know, maybe someone swallowing your pride in that scenario is the best thing ever. Yeah. And just, like, take that out of the equation. Let someone who hasn't been, you know, doesn't have that pressure on them, take the pen. And
it's a high pressure moment. It's a game here to win. Yeah, this 100%. Is a big chance.
It's a 0-0.
And it's the captain again. Is Odegaard again? He might be he is the best captain right now in the Premier League. Big moment, steps up. The whole Monday night, maybe they're thinking on about the whole Monday night thing. Great penalty, sends him the other way. But, like, he's a Real Madrid player. Everyone forget he's a Real Madrid product.
Yeah,
like, this guy was the wonder kid
when he was like 16,
14 years old. He was like the academy talent. Like, no wonder he's doing so well. I think everyone needs to just realise how good this guy is. Obviously, everyone appreciates him, but I think we need to appreciate him more. That's what does for us.
Could potentially still make the current Real Madrid midfield, probably.
Yeah, probably not, but
one
of the best number 10s in the world at the moment.
Look, I think Odegaard goes under the radar a little bit because, like, you know, he can't show off that sort of flashy nature a little bit. He's the captain. Yeah. Like, he scored, I think, like 12 to 13 goals last year playing
as a
midfielder.
Yeah,
You know. Midfielders rarely, like De Bruyne, even prime De Bruyne, I don't think was scoring that, or scoring the same amount of goals. Like, you
double
know,
digits barely, yeah.
So, look, this guy gets on the score sheet. I think maybe his biggest criticism in the past from maybe more casual, like, people don't watch Arsenal week in, week out, is that he kind of disappears a little bit in big games. But I think, you know, anyone who watches the game will actually realise that's not true.
1%ers, I think
he just gets clamped up, and as a result, he makes space. You know, so as in Odegaard is always consistent. You know. Always gives his best, tries his hardest, 100%. And great leader, great captain of the club. Like, you know, as an Arsenal fan, you're really proud to have Odegaard as your captain.
Rounding it all off, obviously Eddie and Ketty had a good game again, I think. Few
looking
chances
a bit better, I think, off the ball.
Yeah, the runs,
you know,
right?
Yeah. So, you know, off the ball positioning, and even, like, in that sort of hold up play area where, like, he's rounding out his game a little bit more, which is good.
He's looking like the more finished part, right? Like, obviously he's not going to be the Jesus prototype, but he's making his own sort of role. I think Arsenal are adjusting the way he plays. Right? I think now you've had him for quite a long period of time with Jesus' injuries, but last night a few chances to score.
Yeah,
obviously created the penalty as well.
Like there was one chance particularly where he tried to, like, chip Johnson.
Dink thing, I'm not sure about that.
Look, it didn't come back to bite us, but unfortunately, like, those are sort of the ones where I think, like, you know, Premier League teams have strikers which can put that away.
Yep.
And he's still young, etc. But when you're going to be in the team, he's a bit more of a poacher than, like, an all-round build-up player sort of guy. Like, you need to be putting that away. And look, it's okay in the end, but if you're Eddie, you're hoping next time that one goes in.
100%. And to round all that, Crystal Palace had a solid game. They did, again, like Nottingham Forest, they gave you guys a good game. Yeah. Sat in when they needed to, looked decent on the counter-attack. Obviously, the penalty about Eze sort of bring down, sort of not bring down. I'm not sure all about that as well. Late chances towards, like, the 94th minute with headers going close, but I think Arsenal just did the job right. You can tell.
Eze's pen call, I think, was a bit stiff, to be honest.
But on the theme of the weekend, it was the right decision for the weekend.
And the fact that Tommy Asu gets sent off for, like, the most
probably levels it out.
So, look, it's unfortunately the league at the moment is so inconsistent, and hopefully they can
fix this rubbish up.
Fix this out. Yeah. But
Get rid of this yellow card for time waste. Get rid of this too much added time and just fix
I
VAR.
understand,
Fix
but
VAR.
what you don't get is with the yellow card for time wasting. It's why now you've seen so many times and like they've implemented that World Cup type like added time, because like the problem was there was this big thing last year.
You're saying Tomiyasu not throwing the ball in for 2 seconds.
I couldn't care less about all this stuff. I'd rather get the VAR
Clint,
right.
You're right.
Like,
it all goes back to last year when we were seeing all those statistics about
Ball in
there's
play.
48 minutes played in the game.
Yeah, no.
Like that's how much the ball was in play.
I do agree, but I just think that unfortunately a yellow card in this game for 1 or 2 seconds of a throw that hasn't been thrown.
No,
yet
you're right.
is
You're
way
right.
too impactful.
But it's what they've done to start off.
The punishment is way too big for the cost of the action.
But what you got to get is
I get it.
So what happens is you start big and then it gets drawn back into
the thing is that's the art of the Premier League. It's the art of shit, time waste this, time waste that, a bit of chat in the media.
100%.
That's what the Premier League's built on. It's built on that. It's built
part
on
of the game.
If you're going to use VAR, get VAR for the offsides and the penalties right. I couldn't care less about added time. I couldn't care less about yellow card because it's right. I think it's I'm there sitting watching Casemiro or watching Tomiyasu and thinking like, I'm on edge. I don't want them to like pull someone or nick someone because even now yellow cards for tackles are like any first challenge.
So you still like that fact? You still like the fact that the game has become more black and white in certain aspects because of VAR, but can still be a little bit grey in scenarios like that?
I'd prefer them to get the penalties and the offsides right and let the yellow cards and extra time thing go back to how it used to be. Because I'd rather see that.
100% in that sense. I think it's in not intervene.
But if it goes back to not intervene, if you're not going to work out VAR, I'm fine with it being those, when you get to Monday morning, that offside was a dodgy call with the lines. I'm fine with that.
I'm still not completely convinced with VAR, and I'll tell you why. Because don't get me wrong, it's like changed a lot of like decisions that would have gone against you and stuff like that with offside. Yeah. But in a 38 game season, it ends up like leveling yourself out.
I definitely agree with you, but I think the point is that like
if the technology's there, get it right. You might as well use it properly.
I definitely agree that I think it rounds out in the long run, but at the same time, I think it's better when the games get called accurately in terms of stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just think that at the moment, my problem with VAR and officiating in general is that it just feels like just way too inconsistent across the board, and they manage to stuff up too much with the technology, it's crazy.
There's too many grey areas now.
Because to everyone who watches it, casual fans, non-casual fans, it
we all
feels
know
so obvious.
Yeah,
and yet maybe the rule book is too they're reading the rule book too
just use
directly.
Your common sense.
Yeah, but there feels it lacks a bit of common sense sometimes in terms of what is offside, what is on. What part of the body counts as
Surely they could have cleared we had this controversy last year, big on what part of the body someone's hand was a little bit over, someone's toe. But surely over the off season,
you fix it.
The FFA could have come together.
Yeah, and what I think
cleaned up and go, okay, this is simple.
Especially
with the offside.
Yeah. I just think we need to hear from the refs more. In NBA, you hear exactly what the refs are saying.
Yeah, they talk over the monitor.
Do it in the Prem, man.
Yeah.
Let the refs real time.
We saw in the Women's World Cup, they tried to implement it saying VAR penalty infraction by 4 on number 6 penalty.
Because it means after the game they can't. So let's say they stuff up real time VAR, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll often see that they try and come up with an excuse throughout the rest of the duration of the game. Be like, okay, we stuffed this up, but we're going to say this happened instead.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're forced to say it real time, it means that they've gone by this as their decision, and as a result, you can hold them accountable to that decision and determine if it was right based upon that or not.
100%.
Whereas
I think it's when you talk about the NBA and stuff like that, but it's a totally different thing. I don't want to hear I don't really care if I hear what the refs.
Well, you will because you might find out why they didn't give that.
You don't think it works well in AFL when we occasionally hear it, what they're when they briefly explain it in 1 second, what they're giving the free kick away for, what they're giving this away for.
It helps clarify things.
I think it'll 100% help clarify things, and we won't be having this discussion about.
I think it's just
because you'll hear the referee's point of view as to why that Garnacho penalty wasn't given.
But I don't think those things are the issue because whether it was given or not,
But if you hear the ref talk about it,
should have
it
been.
holds a precedent
But
for
it's
the
very
future
easy.
times.
I could tell you why that wasn't given right now. That wasn't given probably because the ref didn't see it like that. But VAR should be cleaning up that mess.
So
That's
it's
such a dumb
ambiguous.
excuse,
It's
though.
ambiguous.
No, but like, the ref might have had a bad angle.
Obviously,
He might have had a bad angle.
Yeah, but they had VAR.
But the VAR's
the
there.
VAR's there. So what do you mean bad angle? We're told they have like 15 different angles.
But that's what I'm saying. And why didn't VAR clean up? Us having what the ref said is irrelevant.
we'll-
I'm talking about, we got to see. What are you trying to say? That the whole thing we hear what the
both.
VAR
I mean
says?
both then.
Oh,
Because,
okay. Well, yeah,
you
you're
know, I'm
right
talking
there.
the refs. Let us hear from the refs' point of view because, you know, we can see
The
why.
on-field ref
Because
will
you
get
can see,
decisions wrong.
so you can see why they got it wrong, and you can be like,
And
I actually understand.
then there's a
that.
reason
But-
why. I think
Whereas I don't know how this.
If this was 3-4 years ago,
I thought it was
and-
consensus that everyone wanted this.
I'm saying
Like,
it makes sense if you hear what they're saying. So then if the handball for the United top one is because it's
No,
too
it
close,
does make
we know the
sense.
difference why now
But
it's
what
too
I'm
close and what's not
saying,
too
what
close.
I'm saying, which I actually think you agree with, but you're just not understanding what I'm saying, is 3-4 years ago, if that handball was given handball, everyone would go their little hoo-ha and stuff and go, how it was a mistake. But you realise there was nothing you could really do about it. The ref might have been behind a player, not seeing it. The hand might have
that's
been next
fine.
to the hand.
That's fine.
The fact we got VAR now,
You should get it right.
Yeah, I'm completely understand the ref made a mistake, which is very easy to make.
Yeah, that's fine.
But why didn't VAR then fix it?
That's what we're saying. We wanna hear why VAR not fixing it.
If VAR didn't overturn it,
Yeah.
clearly it wasn't.
Well, you say that, but clearly Onana's was a mistake, but the FA came out the
Next day.
Yeah,
But,
the
but,
next day.
but,
Okay,
Antonio,
my
that's our point. We want to hear what they're
90%
saying.
of the time,
Why it's not a
so,
penalty.
like, you know, if the VAR, okay, look, occasionally, the Onana thing is pretty unprecedented. I feel like we rarely ever see the FA come out and say, oh, you know, actually, we got this wrong.
we get 4 times a year, we get that stuff.
Yeah.
Though.
Well, maybe no, but it's compared to the incidents.
Oh,
that
okay,
come. There's,
yeah.
There's
Yeah,
4 or
yeah.
5 every weekend.
Yeah.
We've just named 5 or 6, right?
Yeah.
The point is that, like, when the VAR doesn't overturn it or does overturn it, usually the VAR's decision is gospel, right? In terms of like in terms of like in terms of like the interpretation of the rules.
Yeah.
It's like pretty much, you know,
That's
like
it.
reading gospel and interpreting the gospel, right? It's like, so it'd be so impactful if we could hear what is being said between the referee on field and the VAR,
fair.
and even like what the referee's initial thought process was, because he's like, let's say he's going up to the booth, right? He's like, okay, you know, I'm now seeing that the players, you know, such player's arm was further away from the body than I initially anticipated, so we can
As
see
such.
why he didn't give it.
Yeah.
And then I've now noticed that his arm was not in an organic manner or whatever it was, you know, in like, you know, a footballing manner.
Yeah.
So I'm going to overturn the decision and pay it as a penalty because like it's been
And it clarifies things.
Like imagine
I can
how
understand
clear
that.
that would be.
That would be good, yeah.
And at least it would mean that like we now know what we're actually arguing with in terms of like fans.
So you're not making rubbish up.
you know, I disagree with that. Not just I disagree with the penalty. It's like,
okay.
I disagree with that component of the game, and hopefully it would clear it up more in the long term than just saying, oh, no, that's not a pen or that is a
fair.
pen. Like, you know what I mean? So
I agree.
I think it'd be really beneficial.
We've segued it perfectly. I guess the new thing I want to finish off each week with now, our winners and our losers. So one thing, player, moment that you enjoy the weekend, the loser, done thing that really it was upsetting, annoying, frustrating, whatever. So with you, Tots, your winner from the weekend?
So my winner from the weekend would be AngeBall.
AngeBall.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like
I need to get mine up.
probably something that like I actually expected, but probably not expecting this soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is
Speed
probably like a good thing. Like as we've said many times throughout the episode tonight, is that a testament to Tottenham? Is that a testament
United.
to like? Is that a detriment to United?
Yeah.
We don't know. And then probably
Loser.
a loser would be the refs.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty clear on
I
the
just think with a few different things, like I'm probably more passionate about a few
Yeah.
things than you guys are.
Yeah.
Like, but I could name 3-4 off the top of my head. Like we've talked about the Tomiyasu issue, the McAllister, the Sobosai, the handball, the Garnacho handball.
Oh, no, last week.
Yeah. Onana last week. Like that, we're not talking about 2 or 3 that are controversial. Like whether they're right or wrong, like we could go back and go the Tomiyasu according to the letter of the law, and like the same with like the Slobosai one, even with the McAllister one, but like they're so controversial still that it's just like.
I think what the progression either needs to be is get a player in there or get like a referee who's played the game to be the VR. I think that's the natural progression to get some players' IQ
I
in
agree
there.
with that, but that's
something needs to change.
Yeah.
Your winners and
I'm
losers.
going to go. My winner is Leon Bailey.
Huge, massive.
Because I think
you were hard on him
I
last
think
week.
one, he was getting absolutely smashed a couple weeks ago in the comment section by Villa fans. And I thought, usually fans' representations are pretty, maybe potentially a little bit skewed and biased, but like they watch their club week in, week out. Like, they have the best analysis of their players. And I think, he probably shut up a few fans with how he played in the weekend. Even like, disregard the assist in the goal, he was just a lot better going forward in the positions he was getting. So that's my winner. And then my loser, I'll probably have to go the refereeing decisions as well. Like, as we've already discussed, it just feels way too inconsistent. It feels like they get way too many. I mean, we're game week 2, and it feels like we can probably name 3 or 4 which are like which are so far wrong on a surface level. I mean, look, and at least if I eat my own words, if I'm gonna eat my own words in May, I'm gonna hope it's because of consistency. Like, they've proven to at least be consistent with their adjudicating. Yeah. But at the moment, based upon past years, it's like it just feels night and day between some decisions they're paying and some they're not. So that's my losers.
Winner wise myself, I'm gonna go De Zerbi. Just their football now, just excelling. We talked about it. Yeah. You think you go backwards, they go forwards. They managed to turn around 150 million profit, and they're still the better team. So for me, that football, if that continues to go, I'm so excited to see them go in the Europa League. If they actually get a good run at it, it'll be pretty good to watch. And then losers, I was going to go the refs, but saying different. I think for me, it's going to be Ashley Young, like a stinker for Everton. Dyche is
so funny.
Dyche, brought him in, as a veteran experience to lead a group.
All I heard before the game
mistake.
Was he's like the second oldest guy in the league now.
Yeah.
This whole veteran.
And then goes and throws it to the opposition for the time. I think Everton in general probably the loser of the weekend, but for someone like a veteran like that, they brought him in. Dyche trusts him, and to form like that was quite embarrassing, to be honest. That wraps up this week, guys. A lot of talking points this week. A lot of controversial things happening this week.
The league's getting tight because it's gone for 2 hours now.
With all that being said, good to be back at it. Next week we'll be back at it again. A few big games next week.
International break. 1 more week or 2 more weeks?
I think we've got 2 more weeks.
After the United Arsenal game.
Yeah. We're going to need to do a big little international break.
A big round up there, 100%. Thanks boys for coming on. Good to see you guys again.
Thank you.
Please guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with mates, and we'll see you for another Way Days video very, very soon.